Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So it's official. Donald Trump has made his VP pick. He has selected none other than Senator J.D. Vance out of the state of Ohio. And this is definitely some big, long-awaited news. We've waited about 3 years to find out who Donald Trump would end up selecting to be his running mate, but he has made his running mate official. He made it official on Truth Social, and he said, after lengthy deliberation and thought and considering the tremendous talents of many others, I've decided the person best suited to assume the position of VP is J.D. Vance from the great state of Ohio, talking about his resume, saying he honorably served our country in the Marines. He's a veteran, highlighting that point. He talked about how he graduated from Ohio State in 2 years and was summa cum laude. That's a very impressive thing to do. And he graduated from Yale Law School, the best law school in the country, and has all these credentials. And this is typically stuff that Donald Trump likes. He likes credentials. He's a marketing genius, and he believes that Vance is going to help him win just because he has this populist edge to him in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Minnesota. So he's talking about the fact that Vance is a fighter for people in the Rust Belt, and that's kind of where this is coming from. He had a very successful career. He's kind of seen both sides. He grew up poor, he grew up in poverty, then he, went and he was in the big tech world and the finance world, and at one point was actually an ever-Trumper, and then he came around to Donald Trump. Some people are going to be asking questions about that, and that's understandable, but he does have an immaculate record in the United States Senate. And a lot of the other options he could have gone with also were never Trumpers at one point as well. And that's also important to take note of. Vance was the first senator when it was so politically convenient to throw Donald Trump under the bus in 2022. You talk about loyalty. J.D. Vance said, no, I'm endorsing Trump, wrote op-eds chastising McConnell and the GOP establishment from sabotaging Trump during the midterms. He gets it. And he's somebody who can communicate Trump's message, maybe a little bit softer, but he definitely has that appeal to those suburbanites as well. Because like I said, he's seen both sides. He's seen both sides of the tracks. He grew up in poverty, white working class. He cares about those people, but also, he does have this, I guess you would say, more business edge to him too. So that's kind of where he comes in to bridge the gap, and that's definitely a very positive thing that he could bring to the table. Now, Vance was not my first choice. I'm not going to lie about it and say he always was my first choice, but, I can see why this could be a decent pick, and that's kind of what I'm doing, making the case for it, because I feel like there is a strong case for it. All things considered, Donald Trump wants somebody behind him that's going to be, I guess you would say, a capable leader, because we saw what possibly could happen. And, Donald Trump is somebody who's weighed that very carefully, and he believes that Vance is the type of guy that can do the job. And that's what it is. And this is the ticket. Trump Vance 2024, make America great again. Make America great again indeed. Ironically enough, you can kind of use the old signs. You replace the PE in Pence with the VA in Vance. It kind of vibes. You have 5 letters each. Trump is a marketing genius. That's what people see more so than Vance has this obscure policy position. People don't really care that much about the VP's obscure policy positions. Kamala Harris, Trump tried to hit some of those in 2020. Didn't exactly land on Biden that well. But either way, Trump is picking somebody that probably doesn't really help the ticket a whole lot, but definitely doesn't hurt the ticket. But he does have this ability to possibly help the ticket in certain states like Michigan, like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, just because he kind of is a moderate in many ways, but more on the economic front. And even on the social front, he picks his battles accordingly, very strong on immigration. He's young, which is a big, big contrast. He's new blood. People will say, well, he's not experienced. But again, new blood is what we need. Trump kind of proved that experience is not exactly something that people value, and Trump already has experience as president. Vance has been in the business world, and people want somebody that's younger, has like a little bit of an edge to them in that regard, and would definitely contrast with Trump in the age department. Obviously, on the other side, you have Biden, and obviously Kamala Harris isn't really doing enough to contrast as much as somebody like Vance would. And on the debate stage, that would be really something. all things considered. I was one of the first people to say that he would end up on Trump's shortlist. I didn't say he would be picked. I didn't even think he would be picked until, reports really started to ramp up maybe an hour or two ago that Trump was closing in on him. But you look at this and it just shows that we were right. Trump did decide to select somebody that was running in that Ohio Senate primary, and that's just incredible that he did that. And in 2-year, 3-year turnaround from Vance just entering the national stage, he's going to be, the probable vice president. That's the way it is. And he's good on immigration. He sponsored the RAISE Act when he first got to the Senate. He is an economic pragmatist. He's a veteran. He's a Catholic and a recent Catholic convert as well that possibly could appeal to some of those voters in eastern Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, some swing states with a high Catholic population, neutralize the identity edge of Biden, which is pretty much neutralized because everybody knows by now that Biden is not really a Catholic. He's a Catholic in name only. Vance is not. But that definitely adds something to the ticket. And he's very smart. He's very intelligent. And definitely that kind of plays into political acumen as well. 2022 was not the strongest campaigner, but could he be a solid campaign surrogate? Well, he's going to be forced to be one now, and he's going to be parked in Pennsylvania, parked in Michigan, parked in Wisconsin, those 3 states, that region the entire time. Trump is shoring up the Sun Belt already. Vance doesn't hurt the ticket in that regard. He may not help it, but he has the ability to help it in the Rust Belt, even the Rust Belt suburbs. People talk about his 2022 performance, but fail to understand that Vance actually got a higher percentage of the vote than Trump in the Cincinnati area, the Cincinnati suburbs, Dayton, the Columbus suburbs as well. And he did much better with college-educated white voters than Trump did. He struggled a bit with white working class voters, ironically enough, because he was going up against Tim Ryan and had all this money spent against him, had a divisive primary, you name it, but still, his performance was fine. Donald Trump in the state, he won it by 8.3, but the electorate that showed up in 2022 only voted for him by 7. And Trump had a 44% favorable rating at the time, according to the exit polls. That's most certainly gone up. And J.D. Vance still won by over 6 points against a strong candidate, despite not really campaigning as much, being outspent. So either way, I don't think you could use that as an excuse to say, well, Vance is an underperformer, because look at Mike Pence in Indiana. Mike Pence in Indiana, which is a much, much redder state than Ohio, he only won by not even 3 points in 2012 before Trump picked him. He was at risk of losing re-election even before Donald Trump decided to put him on the ticket. And yeah, he definitely was able to coalesce evangelicals and, people that were, skeptical of Trump and how he would govern behind Trump, and that's true. But Vance doesn't really take away from the ticket. Very few people are going to say, well, I can't vote for Trump now because Vance is on the ticket. And that's with the initial shock of Vance being put on the ticket. Make no mistake about it. So either way, I think it's a very good choice that he could make. I personally, it was not my favorite at the onset of the choices. Did seem as if he didn't really want to go with Burgum. Rubio, apparently he would have probably preferred Rubio if not for the residency issue, according to reports, if they're true. But Vance, to him, just makes the most sense. There's going to be questions. Who does Vance get replaced by in the Senate? By the Rhino governor and Mike DeWine, and we can get to that when the time comes. But hey, even if that Rhino governor there, Mike DeWine, picks a Rhino to replace Vance in the Senate, he could always lose the Senate primary to somebody like, I don't know, Vivek Ramaswamy, who's also from Ohio, the Vivek people, the people that wanted Vivek as VP. They could get the best of both worlds. But we have really yet to see how this is going to unfold. Vance is going to speak at the RNC. I'm sure people that are a little skeptical of him will come home at that point. But again, this is mainly about Trump. VP rarely affects the presidential election. I'm not going to say this helps Trump a whole lot, but the people that say this is going to hurt Trump, I really disagree with them. I just think that they're just rooting for Trump's downfall or something. And that's the way that it goes. And people will say that Vance's old anti-Trump statements are going to be used against him. and they probably will be, but Kamala Harris has a lot of anti-Biden statements, so you might as well use those against him. And the fact that Vance was anti-Trump but came around at Trump, in a way you could even say that's a point of strength, because he could articulate why he came around at Trump and why undecided voters should come around at Trump. And also some people will say, well, he's too much like Trump. It's like, well, Trump on the ticket by himself was beating Biden and Harris by like 3 points. So Trump adding somebody who I guess you would say is similar to Trump doesn't really take away a whole lot from the ticket. Vance is not uniquely unlikable. He's not uniquely polarizing. And if anything, if he comes out, says the right things, he'll do just fine. And I look forward to him decimating Kamala Harris on the debate stage. So we'll see what happens. The convention's tonight. I'll be live streaming after the round of speeches ends. But I will say that in terms of the convention, there's been rumors that RFK Jr. is in Milwaukee meeting with Trump's team. Now, he's obviously not the VP, and I wouldn't have really expected him to be the VP, but could they be cutting a deal where RFK Jr. decides to bow out of the presidential race, which he has zero shot at winning and zero shot at serving in any position, and it's very possible he could endorse Donald Trump, and it's possible that he could get some role in his administration, probably working in some position where he could combat big pharma or something like that, one of his points of strength. Yeah, it's very possible, could give Trump 1 to 2% of the vote as well just by doing that alone. So we'll see. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.